I'm supposed to become the valedictorian of the state, but I decide to not attend the SATs. After all, in my previous life, my best friend, Bianca Walters, had made a pact with a tenfold transfer system. The $3 million prize money I had obtained from becoming the state valedictorian was transferred into Bianca's account. On top of that, it was increased by 10 times as well. Just like that, Bianca moved on from wearing faded old clothes to limited branded apparel. She even muttered, "What's the point of being a top scorer even though you're poor? At the end of the day, you'll still slave away for us rich people." Enraged, I rushed over and demanded Bianca for answers. But my boyfriend, James Tips, was quick to shield her from me and yelled at me for being a crazy lady who was jealous of others. Since my mom couldn't get her illness treated due to the lack of money, she ended up dying with resentment in her eyes. Overwhelmed by despair, I took my life by jumping off a building. Beep. When I opened my eyes again, I realized that I've gotten reborn. This time, I've also made a pact with the tenfold transfer system. You must study hard, Anna Lawson. After all, someone like you who's destined to be a pauper was born to work for wealthy people like me, Bianca Walters said. I knew I had been reborn when Bianca's loathsome voice reverberated in my ears. I had been brought back to the day when my so-called best friend told everyone that she had managed to earn $7 million through her own business. The pain of all my bones shattering into a million pieces after I jumped off the building still lingered. My boyfriend, James Tips, infuriated and berating, snapped me back to reality. Have you gone deaf, Anna? Or are you just pretending not to hear what Bianca said to you? Her kindness is truly wasted on someone like you. That's enough, Bianca chimed in. It's fine. Don't be so harsh on Anna. Maybe she just isn't able to accept the cruel reality for the time being. Bianca held James' hand, hoping to comfort him. James shot a pained look at Bianca before pulling her into his arms. Meanwhile, I pulled out my phone and checked my bank account. It was completely empty. As expected, Bianca had used the tenfold transfer system to steal the $7 million that I had gotten from selling the house. I had planned to use the money to pay for Mom's medical bills. How did you manage to earn $7 billion from your business, Bianca? Can you teach us your secrets? I second her suggestion. We don't want to study hard anymore, Bianca. Let us join your business. The students approached Bianca and formed a circle around her. Oh, there's no secret. Bianca replied. My family's company has been helping me the entire time. Mom and Dad just can't bear to see me work so hard. Envy glinted in the eyes of the students upon hearing Bianca's words. They then shot looks of disdain at me. Anna truly has no idea how good she has it. Not only is Bianca pretty and kind, but she also sponsors Anna by giving her some money every month. Now, she's even promising to let Anna work at her company after graduation. I have no idea what Bianca sees in Anna. Even if we ignore her poor and shabby appearance, she's still incredibly ungrateful. She's nothing but a heartless wretch. In my past life, I desperately tried to explain to everyone that Bianca had transferred $7 million out of my account and to herself after I was framed. She even pretended to be charitable and donated a few $100s to me. I hadn't expected everyone to assume that I was being jealous, pointing at me and scolding me for being ungrateful. James had also slapped me hard across the face on Bianca's behalf. This time, I grabbed Bianca's hand. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at her and said, "Thank you for sponsoring me, Bianca. Don't worry. I'll definitely study as hard as I can to repay you." The students were rendered speechless by my words. Meanwhile, Bianca seemed immensely pleased as she enjoyed my pathetic reaction. You have to become the top scorer in the province, Anna. If you aren't able to secure the $3 million reward, you won't be able to pay for your mother's treatment. As expected, Bianca was still eyeing the reward money for becoming the provincial top scorer. I had no doubt that she would transfer it out of my account the moment I received it. I thought about the pain I suffered in my last life when my family fell apart, but I continued to maintain a grateful expression on my face. I visited Mom in the hospital after school was over. She was sound asleep. Genuine tears rolled down my face as I looked at Mom's thin face. She had lost an alarming amount of weight because of her illness. I'll protect you this time, Mom, I murmured as I held her hand. I activated the tenfold transfer system, setting Bianca as the target. I'll consider the $7 million that you stole from me as payment for your life, Bianca, I thought to myself. In my past life, I didn't understand how Bianca had suddenly gotten rich. We grew up in the same rundown apartment building. Both of us washed and rewore our clothes so many times that they became worn and faded. I couldn't understand how she suddenly became wealthy after transferring to my school, but I had a gut feeling that it wasn't because of her so-called business. At first, I couldn't figure out why my money would disappear from my account without rhyme or reason. I assumed that I was caught up in some sort of telecom fraud scheme and thought that I wouldn't be able to find out the truth even if I made a police report. Everyone assumed that I had gone mad due to my obsession with money. The missing puzzle pieces finally fell into place when Bianca suddenly announced that she had earned $7 million through her business. She had been the mastermind pulling the strings behind the scenes all along. Fortunately, an omnipotent being decided to give me another chance at life. This time, I was determined to make Bianca pay for her transgressions against me. I spent the rest of the night taking care of Mom. The next day, I noticed the students were shooting envious looks at me when I arrived at school. Anna scored the highest points for the mock exams in the entire city. That's amazing. I wonder how she did it. She's probably going to become the provincial top scorer too. The award is $3 million. Meanwhile, Bianca gripped her desk tightly. She looked extremely annoyed when she said, "So what if she scored the highest points in the city? She still has to rely on me to sponsor her. A regular person wouldn't be able to achieve the wealth of my family even if they worked themselves to the bone for an entire decade. So what if she becomes the provincial top scorer? She would still end up working for me in the end." Bianca's eyes flashed before she continued, "Don't worry if you didn't do well on your SATs, everyone. You can work at my company. I'll even give you some of the shares." The students immediately flocked to Bianca. "You're right. So what if she's good at studying? In the end, she'll just end up being your employee, Bianca." "You're so kind, Bianca. Anna, you should show Bianca how grateful you are. There's no way you would have scored the highest points in the city without her sponsorship. Grovel at her feet and show her how grateful you are." Bianca's upset expression morphed into a happy one. She puffed out her chest and looked at me haughtily. I scoffed and pulled out my phone. I then dialed a number and set the phone on speaker mode. "Mrs. Walters, it's me, Anna. Bianca only scored 700 points during the mock exams. I wouldn't have scored 1,600 points if I had known her results would end up like this. She's really upset now. Why don't you comfort her?" A furious voice that belonged to a middle-aged woman echoed from the receiver, "You good-for-nothing, money-wasting Bianca. I had to spend so much money and nearly went broke to send you to the same high school as Anna. I did all of that because I wanted to give you the best learning environment." The woman took a deep breath before continuing through gritted teeth, "And how did you repay my hard work? Anna scored 1,600 points while you only scored a measly 700 points. Your score isn't even half of Anna's. I'm going to teach you a lesson you won't forget when you get home." A dead silence descended upon the classroom. The students exchanged glances with each other before whispering among themselves. Was Bianca lying this entire time? Her family had to use all their money to send her to this school? That's impossible. Doesn't she own a successful business? And where did she get so much money from? Didn't she show us her bank balance in the past? Maybe she edited the photo. Maybe she's been faking it this whole time. The color drained from Bianca's face in an instant. She lunged at me and tried to snatch my phone out of my hand. I immediately took a step backward and dodged her attack. James clamped a hand around my arm and dragged me to the side, exerting so much force that the pain temporarily rendered me speechless. He snatched my phone from me and ended the call. "What do you think you're doing? How dare you hire someone to act as Bianca's mother just to frame her? Bianca's giving you money to sponsor your studies. Calling you ungrateful is far from enough, Anna. You're such a despicable person." James glared at me with disdain. Gone was the tall and handsome man with the clear and bright eyes who had blushed and stammered when he confessed to me. The students around us began chiming in upon hearing James' words. "No way, Anna. I didn't know you were that jealous of Bianca. She treats you so well and gives you money every month. Why would you slander her like this? How terrible. How frightening. I had no idea that Anna was such a schemer. I nearly fell for her lies. It's pointless for her to have such good results when she has such a horrible personality. What an ungrateful wretch." I stood there and let them hurl their insults at me. I wasn't bothered enough to explain myself to these spineless idiots who couldn't even form their own opinions. I turned around and prepared to leave. "Wait," Bianca said, blocking my path. "Did I give you permission to leave? Do you really believe that you can just slip away after dragging my name through the mud? I'm willing to be the bigger person and let you go, but you have to grovel for my forgiveness first. You can forget about leaving if you don't." Bianca's admirers immediately surrounded me upon hearing her words. "Didn't you hear, Bianca? Hurry and beg for her forgiveness. You should get on your knees right now if you know what's good for you. Don't blame us for being rough with you if you don't." The corners of my lips twitched up into a smile as I swept my gaze over them. I pulled out a can of pepper spray from my bag and sprayed it at one of the male students who tried to pin me down. The student let out a blood-curdling scream as he covered his face and rolled around on the ground. My eyes. Are you still going to block my way? I asked lightly. Everyone snapped back to their senses and immediately backed away from me as far as they could. They were terrified of being the next victim of my pepper spray. All of you are useless, Bianca exclaimed while stomping her feet and digging her sharp nails into her palms. I ignored her and left the classroom, making my way toward the office. I lightly rapped my knuckles against the door and waited. Come in. My teacher, Heather Miller's, gentle voice resounded from beyond the door. I pushed open the door. Looking at Ms. Miller with determination blazing in my eyes, I said, I've decided not to take the exams, Ms. Miller. Instead, I'm going to sign my national letter of intent instead. Are you sure, Ms. Lawson? Heather asked seriously. I nodded without any hesitation. I've made up my mind, Ms. Miller. After the SATs were over, Bianca invited everyone out by telling them that she was hosting a student gathering. I'll cover all the expenses for tonight. Enjoy yourself to your heart's content, everyone. Don't feel guilty about spending my money. Everyone hollered and cheered upon hearing Bianca's words. You're much too generous, Bianca. I love you to death. Now this is how a true heiress should behave. She should be an extremely generous spender. All the students flocked around Bianca and fawned over her while I was forced into a corner. I couldn't help but scoff at how shameless Bianca was for using my money to foot the bill. But it was fine. The higher she flew, the harder the fall. Just then, Bianca noticed me huddled in the corner. She grabbed my arm and said, You've been working so hard recently, Anna. What did you think about the exams? I knew that Bianca was testing me, trying to see if I was confident I would win the title of provincial top scorer and the $3 million reward that came with it. I narrowed my eyes and said languidly, I think I did really well. It shouldn't be a problem at all for me to be awarded the title of provincial top scorer. What about you? Bianca tightened her grip around my arm. She forced on a smile and replied, It doesn't matter how I did. I'll be inheriting my family's company soon. She paused before continuing, Oh, that's right. Your mother's really sick, right? Do you have enough money to pay her medical bills? I hope that Mrs. Lawson won't pass away with any regrets. At the mention of regret, I recalled how Mom had spent the last moments of her life wallowing in resentment in my past life. My entire body shook from anger as I knocked Bianca's hand away. James immediately delivered a powerful kick to my stomach when he noticed what was going on. Caught off guard, I crumpled to the floor. Sweat cruised down my back from the unbearable pain. James looked down at me from the tip of his nose. How dare you hurt Bianca when she was just concerned for your mom? I hope that kick will serve as a lesson to you. I won't let you off the hook that easily if you hurt Bianca again. Powering through the pain, I looked up at James and retorted, I'm your actual girlfriend, James. Why do you keep taking Bianca's side time and time again? The Tips family was extremely wealthy. There was nothing that James could gain by currying favor with Bianca. On top of that, an actual rich person would easily be able to see through Bianca's flimsy persona of an heiress. James burst into mocking laughter as if he had just heard a hilarious joke. My girlfriend? Stop being delusional, Anna. You're nothing more than a rebound who refuses to leave me alone. Do you really believe that you're on the same level as Bianca? The other students began to chime in with their own opinions. He's right. You need to take a good, hard look at yourself in the mirror. Bianca is so kind while you're the epitome of evil. I can't believe you're delusional enough to believe that you can win James' heart. You heard what he said, right? He wouldn't even consider accepting you as a rebound. James moved closer to me and whispered into my ear, You were always outdoing me in everything, Anna. You always win first prize in competitions, and you're slated to become the next provincial top scorer. But things are different now. Bianca has the ability to use the tenfold transfer system. You're never going to make a name for yourself for the rest of your life. My mind went blank when I heard James' words. There was a loud buzzing in my ears. It turned out that James had known the truth all along. He and Bianca were accomplices. Fortunately, I still had my trump card up my sleeve. I looked at Bianca timidly and mumbled, I shouldn't have been jealous of you, Bianca. Why don't I drop by your villa during break to work as one of your maids? I still need to pay Mom's expensive medical bills. You're such a kind person. You'll definitely forgive me, right? The students immediately grew excited at the mention of a villa. We want to visit your villa too, Bianca. We've never seen your villa in person before. Please let us come over. Bianca's expression twisted. She didn't own a villa. Her current residence was an old and run-down apartment that didn't even have an elevator. Don't tell me that you don't own a villa. I asked with wide eyes, making sure to inject just the right amount of surprise into my voice. The other students began to notice that something was amiss when Bianca stumbled over her words. Does she not have one? Was she just putting on an act all along? I don't think so. She looks pretty rich to me. All her clothes are limited edition pieces. Maybe they're just really good counterfeits. Bianca's face turned a ruddy red. She fixed on a haughty look and exclaimed, Of course, I own a villa. It's just that it's undergoing some renovations recently, so you can't come over now. Give me a week. I'll give you a tour of the place in a week's time. Her words dispelled the doubt in the students' hearts, prompting them to continue showering her with endless praises. A week later, everyone dropped by Bianca's villa. Bianca glared at me. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have had to resort to taking out a few high-interest loans to purchase the villa. She had even stolen the deed of her house and mortgaged it just to gather enough money. Oh, my God, Bianca. Your villa looks so grand. It's even more impressive than the villas that I see on the TV, a female student exclaimed while covering her mouth. Bianca shot a gloating look at me. It didn't matter to her that she had spent a small fortune to purchase the villa. Once I was awarded the title of provincial top scorer and the $3 million that came with it, not only would she be able to pay off her debts, but she would still have plenty of leftover money to buy anything she desired. The scores are out, everyone. Hurry and check your results. Oh, no. I only scored 1,000 points. I'm done for. What about you, Anna? What's your score? Everyone gathered around me and pinned their gazes on me. Bianca was among them, looking as if she wanted to snatch my phone out of my hands and check my score for herself. I slowly pulled out my phone and languidly navigated to the results site under everyone's scrutiny. I entered my details and waited for the page to load. Bianca was momentarily stunned when she saw my score. She swiftly snapped back to her senses and grabbed my collar. Why did you get 0 points? She roared. Let Anna go, Bianca, one of the female students said. The site doesn't show the scores for the top 50 scorers in the province. That's probably why her score is 0. Although she was a little confused over Bianca's fury, she still patiently explained the situation to her. Bianca awkwardly let go of my collar. A wide grin broke across her face in the next second as she exclaimed, Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that. You must be the provincial top scorer then, Anna. I slowly lifted my head and stared at Bianca's face that was flushed from excitement. A confused look crossed my face as I said, But I didn't take the exams. So, it's impossible for me to be the top scorer. What do you mean you didn't take the exams? Bianca's voice shrieked, the pitch rising so high it cracked. The triumphant smirk on her face vanished, replaced by a mask of sheer panic. That's impossible. You were studying day and night. You scored 1,600 on the mocks. Why wouldn't you take the SATs? The classmates inside the luxurious living room of the villa exchanged bewildered glances. Anna, is this a joke? One of them asked, frowning. You didn't take the exams? But you were practically guaranteed to be the provincial valedictorian. The $3 million prize money. Why would I need to take the exams? I asked, keeping my voice remarkably calm. And tilting my head slightly. A month ago, Ms. Miller helped me submit my academic portfolio to the State Academy of Sciences. I signed the national letter of intent. I pulled out a heavy, crimson folder from my backpack and placed it gently on the glass coffee table. The gold-embossed national seal on the cover gleamed under the villa's crystal chandelier. I had been granted direct admission to the state's top nuclear physics research program, I continued, looking directly into Bianca's widening eyes. The state has awarded me a $5 million scientific research grant, along with comprehensive, top-tier medical coverage for my mother. Her treatment at the capital's military hospital starts tomorrow, fully funded by the government. A collective gasp echoed through the room. A national research grant. Direct admission to the State Academy? That's way more prestigious than being a provincial valedictorian. And her mom's medical bills are completely covered by the state. Bianca's face drained of all color. She stared at the crimson folder as if it were a poisonous viper. Her hands began to tremble violently. I knew exactly what was running through her mind. She was communicating with her tenfold transfer system. Transfer Anna Lawson's $5 million scientific grant to my account immediately. She would be screaming internally. But in my mind, a mechanical, cold voice chimed in. Ding. Detected an attempt by target Bianca Walters to illegally transfer state-protected scientific research funds. Sovereign Protection Protocol activated. According to the laws of the tenfold transfer system, any attempt to steal state-secured national assets triggers an automatic tenfold reverse punishment. Initiating asset seizure. Draining all existing assets, bank balances, and future credit lines of target Bianca Walters. Converting the stolen $7 million into a $70 million debt to be paid back to the host, Anna Lawson. Suddenly, Bianca grabbed her head and let out a sharp cry of agony. Bianca. What's wrong? James rushed to her side, pulling her into his arms. He glared at me with pure hatred. Anna, what did you do to her? Did you bring some kind of curse into this house? You've always been jealous of Bianca's wealth. I haven't touched her, James, I said, taking a step back. But it seems Bianca's wealth is about to face a very reality-based test. Before James could scream another insult, Bianca's phone on the table began to buzz incessantly. BZZZT, BZZZT, BZZZT. Screen notifications began to pop up one after another. Because she had left her phone unlocked on the table to show off her mock exam results earlier, everyone in the room could see the incoming messages clearly. State Union Bank, your account ending in 8899 has been frozen due to suspected high-risk fraudulent transactions. Remaining balance, $0. Global Credit, your credit limit of $500,000 has been terminated. Please settle the outstanding balance of $500,000 immediately. Apex Lending, payment of $15 million for your short-term bridging loan is overdue. Penalties are accruing at 1.5% daily. What is this? A classmate whispered, leaning in to read the screen. $0. Overdue loans of $15 million? Wait, look at this one. Another message popped up, this time a frantic WeChat call from Bianca's mother. Bianca, trembling, picked up the phone with numb fingers and pressed answer. She forgot to turn off the speaker. Bianca. What did you do? Her mother's voice screamed through the speaker. Hysterical and sobbing. The bank just arrived with the court order. They are foreclosing on our apartment. The police are here too, they say your father signed a forged property deed to secure a $15 million loan. Our family is completely ruined. We owe $70 million, Bianca. Where did you put the money? No, that's not possible. Bianca shrieked, dropping the phone. It shattered on the marble floor. The system promised me. Where is my money? Where is my $30 million? 30 million? I asked, feigning confusion. Bianca, you told us you earned $7 million through your own successful business. Why would you need to borrow $15 million using a forged deed of a rundown apartment? And why are you expecting $30 million today? The classmates looked at Bianca with a mixture of horror and disgust. She lied to us. She doesn't have a wealthy family. She lives in the same rundown slums as Anna. She forged a deed to buy this villa just to show off to us. She's a complete fraud. James's grip on Bianca loosened. He looked down at her, his face turning pale. Bianca, your family's company, it doesn't exist? You told me your father was a major shareholder in real estate. James, listen to me, Bianca begged, grabbing his shirt sleeve. It's a mistake. I can get the money. I just need some time. You're rich, right? Your family's tips group can help me. Just lend me $15 million to pay off the loan sharks, please. Before James could answer, a loud, crashing sound reverberated through the villa. The heavy, double wooden front doors were kicked open, splintering off their hinges. A group of 5 burly men in black leather jackets walked into the living room. Their arms were covered in dark tattoos, and the man leading them carried a thick, steel baseball bat. The students screamed, scrambling to the corners of the room to get as far away from the intruders as possible. Who is Bianca Walters? The leader asked, his voice cold and gravelly. He swept his eyes over the terrified teenagers until his gaze landed on Bianca, who was trying to hide behind James. Ah, there you are, the leader sneered, tapping the baseball bat against the marble floor. Clack. Clack. Miss Walters, the $15 million you borrowed last week using a forged deed The grace period ended at 5 p.m. today. It's now 6:30 p.m. Where is our money? I don't have it right now, Bianca stammered, her voice shaking. But my boyfriend, his family is the tips group. He can pay you. She desperately shoved James forward. James, trying to maintain his pride in front of the classmates, straightened his jacket and stepped forward. Do you know who my father is? I am James Tips. If you don't get out of here right now, I'll make one phone call and have your entire operation shut down. The leader of the loan sharks paused, then burst into a mocking laugh. The men behind him joined in. Tips group? Kid, are you living under a rock? The leader asked, pulling out his phone and tossing it onto the sofa. Check the local news. Your father was arrested by the Economic Crimes Unit 2 hours ago. The tips group's offshore accounts were suddenly drained to zero by an anonymous international settlement, exposing decades of tax evasion and money laundering. Your family assets have been seized by the federal government. You don't have a penny left to your name. James's eyes widened. He scrambled for his own phone, his fingers shaking so violently he dropped it twice. When he finally opened the news app, the headline in bold red font stared back at him. Tips group collapses, chairman arrested for $100 million fraud, all assets frozen. No. James fell to his knees, his phone slipping from his hands. How is this happening? We were fine yesterday. We were supposed to be untouchable. Ding. Target James Tips's family assets have been liquidated to settle the karmic debt of cooperating with Bianca Walters. A total of $50 million has been recovered and legally transferred to host Anna Lawson's trust account under the guise of an anonymous national legacy fund. The system's voice in my head was sweet music. In my past life, James had acted as Bianca's enforcer, helping her cover up her theft of my house money, and ultimately kicking me down when I begged for help. He had known about the tenfold transfer system all along. He had used me as a stepping stone, laughing at my misery while enjoying the luxury bought with my blood and tears. Now, he was on his knees, stripped of everything. James suddenly looked up, his face twisted in a mixture of realization and horror. He turned to Bianca, lunging at her and grabbing her by the collar. You bitch. James roared, shaking her violently. You told me your system was foolproof. You said that as long as we kept Anna around, we could transfer all her future earnings and multiply them by 10. You said we would be billionaires. Why didn't she take the exam? Why did her grant destroy our accounts? The classmates gasped. The truth was finally out. System? Transfer Anna's earnings? So, Bianca really did steal Anna's money in the past? That $7 million Anna lost when her house was sold, it was them. They targeted Anna together. Bianca tried to claw at James's face. Let me go, James. It's not my fault. The system is supposed to work. Anna must have done something. She turned her tear-streaked, hysterical face toward me. It's you, isn't it? Anna? You knew. You deliberately didn't take the exam to ruin me. You knew I borrowed money based on your score. I don't know what kind of fantasy you're talking about, Bianca, I said, looking down at her with cold indifference. I simply chose to pursue a different path. Is it my fault that you decided to commit fraud, forge deeds, and borrow money from dangerous people just to live a lie? The leader of the loan sharks lost his patience. He waved his hand to his men. Enough drama. Repossess the villa. Pack up everything of value. As for these two, take them to the back office. Since they can't pay with cash, they'll have to find other ways to settle the interest. No. Please. James, help me. Bianca screamed as two burly men grabbed her by the arms and dragged her across the floor. James tried to fight back, but a swift kick to his ribs from one of the men sent him sprawling, coughing up blood. He was dragged out like a dead dog. None of the classmates dared to move or speak. They stood frozen, watching the terrifying scene unfold, realizing that the glorious heiress and her prince had just fallen into the deepest abyss. As Bianca was being dragged past me, she suddenly stopped. Her eyes rolled back, and she began to shiver violently. System, save me, use my life force, transfer, transfer anything. She muttered, her voice sounding raspy and weak. Ding. Target Bianca Walters is attempting a forbidden exchange, trading her health and lifespan for immediate financial release. Warning, target's total debt to host exceeds the maximum threshold. System rules dictate that all traded life force and luck will be directly converted into vital energy for the host's mother, while the target suffers a complete physical backlash. A warm, gentle energy suddenly washed over me, and I knew that miles away, in the hospital, my mother's weak heart was suddenly beating stronger, her diseased cells being swept away by a sudden surge of pure, miraculous vitality. In contrast, right before our eyes, Bianca's youthful skin began to dry up. Deep wrinkles carved themselves into her face. Her lustrous black hair lost its shine, turning a dull, brittle gray, and falling out in clumps onto the floor. Within seconds, the 18-year-old girl looked like a frail, sickly woman in her late 60s. My hands, Bianca whispered, looking at her withered, wrinkled fingers. She caught her reflection in the glass of the broken phone on the floor and let out a blood-curdling scream of terror before fainting. The loan sharks were startled by her sudden transformation, but their line of work had made them hardened to strange things. What a freak. Drag her out. Anyway. She can still clean toilets. They swept out of the villa, leaving the remaining students shaking in silence. I picked up my red folder from the table, slung my backpack over my shoulder, and walked toward the exit. None of the students dared to look me in the eye. The ones who had insulted me and told me to grovel at Bianca's feet now shrank back, terrified that I would seek revenge. I didn't care about them. They were nothing but background noise in a past life that was now fully erased. A month later, the capital's military hospital was quiet and peaceful. I walked into the VIP recovery suite, carrying a bouquet of fresh lilies. My mother was sitting up in bed, color fully restored to her cheeks. She was reading a book, looking younger and healthier than she had in a decade. Anna, sweetie, she smiled, her voice clear and strong. The doctors said my latest scans show no trace of the illness. They called it a medical miracle. They're releasing me next week. I know, Mom, I said, placing the flowers on her bedside table and hugging her gently. I told you I would protect you this time. You've worked so hard, my brilliant girl, she whispered, tearing up the State Academy of Sciences. I'm so proud of you. After leaving the hospital, I took a walk down the streets of our old neighborhood. The rundown apartments were scheduled for demolition, and with the funds I now possessed, I had already purchased a beautiful, quiet townhouse for my mother and me in the capital. As I passed under a highway overpass near the edge of the city, I saw a small crowd gathered near a garbage bin. Curious, I glanced over. Two beggars, dressed in filthy, tattered rags, were fighting over a half-eaten loaf of bread that someone had thrown away. One was a young man with a broken leg, dragging himself across the dirt, his face covered in scars from street fights. It was James Tips. Without his family's wealth, he had no skills, no education, and no future, only debts and a body broken by the loan shark's enforcers. The other was an old, withered woman with patchy gray hair and a hunched back. She was clutching the bread to her chest, growling like an animal. It was Bianca Walters. The system's backlash had left her permanently aged and senile, her mind trapped in a loop of greed and fear. They noticed me. James's eyes widened as he recognized me. He froze, his hand trembling as he reached out toward me. Anna, please. I loved you. I was forced by. Bianca, please save me. Bianca looked up, her cloudy eyes suddenly focusing on my pristine, expensive shoes, then moving up to my face. My 30 million, give me my 30 million. I stopped for a brief moment, looking down at them. There was no anger left in my heart, only a quiet, profound peace. I didn't say a word. I turned around and walked away, stepping into the warm afternoon sunlight, leaving the ghosts of my past life behind in the shadows, where they belonged.